Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at the high-grade Gundam Dynames, and of course this is the long-range sniper Gundam from Gundam 00. This came out quite a long time ago. According to the side of the box, it came out in 2007, that is 16 years ago, so that means this isn't a new release or anything like that, so I got mine through BUYEE, where it cost me, actually, this would have originally cost 1,200 yen. It is a little bit old. And on BUYEE it cost about just over double, so 2,672 yen. But yeah, let's get this open and see what we've got. So, time to crack open the box and get to the rest of this Season 1 crew of Gundam. So this is quite the old box. You can usually tell by the red logo there. I don't remember exactly when Bandai changed over from Red Bandai to Blue Bandai, which is Bandai Spirits, but that's well, sometimes how you can date whether it's a reprint box, which this isn't, or one of the original releases. Now there's usually the price and date of release on these ones. The price is usually the end of the barcode on older kits. I'm really sad that they actually got rid of that. It was a real easy way to tell just how shafted you did actually get. So this is 1200, which is 1,200 yen, which is, hey Siri, what is 1,200 yen in dollars? $8.60, and probably something similar in euro, probably around €8.50 or something like that. And this cost me, I'll pop it up on the screen so you can see the markup, and that isn't even including shipping. Man, I miss the old gunpla prices. Also, there is no translation on the box, which also shows just how dated this is. The bag is a little bit discolored, which does show it's been in here for quite some time. It's about time this guy got built right here. And we do have 2 bags inside of here, as well as that manual. Also, not translated. But of course, if you do want to know what's said there, all of that will be on the Gundam Wiki. So thanks to whoever runs that. They do an absolutely amazing job. Blurb on there. Also, something I never really knew what the deal with it was is sometimes you've got these rippable open bags like this. You just pull them open and it's super simple. But then we also have these kind of sealed, unrippable bags. I don't know why some parts get the unrippable, why some get the rippable, but I recommend some kind of blade. On the kit itself, just like the Exia, is from 2007. Absolutely normal manual right here. Some pictures of what it will look like once finished and painted by the looks of things. And I'm going to start where I usually start, and that is with the legs. So when it comes to the build, this is a very simple build, just like we would have seen with the Exia. No bells, no whistles, and it's just armor parts connected onto the joints, and that is it. Nothing that actually moves. There is no GN condensers to worry about on this one, but there are quite a few stickers to be applied along the doing of this. Basically, a whole bunch where the GN wires go through the legs, and then on the kneecap right here, we've got this one right here, and this whole part that goes around the outside. So stickers are quite bad on this. What we get in the end is a simple leg that bends at 2 points, just like so. You'd probably like to paint the inside that grey to get it looking a little bit better, as well as some of the little details on this. This is definitely a kit that will need some detailing up, and the foot down here doesn't do any bending or anything like that. So simple, but well, I guess it's a leg. Next up onto the waist unit, and this is one of my favorite aspects of the Dynames. Basically, we've got some big boosters around back here, and it's just simple up front. The build with this is pretty much what we would have seen with the Exia, but there is some differences to it. The one thing that was actually really killing me was we've got some wicked mold lines on this, like we have on the underside right here, which I didn't clean up because they're on the underside, you won't really see them, and then there's some on top as well that look pretty bad. Now what I did with this was I did a kind of multi-stage kind of attack on this by using 3 different grits of sanding sticks to get rid of the mold line, and then I used both balancers, that's the grey balancer and the white balancer by gun primer, to clean it up and kind of buff it out in the end to get a nice mold line free finish on this particular area right here. If you have the time and you really want to get into it, this is what I recommend, to remove every mold line from the kit. But still, we could definitely do with some gray maybe inside here and maybe on these parts too, just to kind of detail it up and finish it off. I'm just going to go with some panel lines, that is if I do have the time. It is backlog killing time after all. So when it comes to the torso, this is the worst of the whole bunch so far, mainly when it comes to color separation, and the usual issue we would have seen with the Exia, that it has absolutely no articulation to the ab crunch either. So yeah, we have a whole ton of stickers. They mainly go around the GN drive, and this is some serious stickering. These don't necessarily fit perfectly either. They go on a little bit awkward onto some almost roundish surfaces, but besides that, it's a simple enough snap together, and this right here is what we get in the end. So if you get these stickers on nice and clean, it doesn't look too bad. Very plain though, and there's not really much to it, movement-wise. So next up, moving on to the arms, and pretty much the same as what we've seen before, except the way these little GN condenser lines or wires attaches in is quite interesting. They attach into the joint of the elbow, the grey segment, and then it's held in by the upper armor of the arm. Everything else just attaches together normally. We'll mention the green plastic in this kit does mark quite a bit, so you're gonna have to be very careful while cleaning that up. We've got a cool mechanism up in the shoulder, which is a nice little joint, which feels like it's made out of ABS. And yes, it most certainly is, so it's nice and strong. Do not put solvents on it. Only the one sticker in here, and that is inside the GN condenser, and we do have a clear piece that just pops in on top of that, just like so. On the whole, a simple enough arm that does what you need it to. Rotation up top right there, so the condenser line doesn't get in the way of that. The bend of the elbow is interesting. It's just a 1-point bend, but the condenser line runs into the forearm like what you're seeing right here, so it does mean that it doesn't get in the way of the bend, and we do have a wrist here on a little bit of an extra joint, but otherwise fairly simple. So when it comes to the head, this is a little bit on the awkward side. The eye stickers I've found on these high-grade 00 kits so far are awful. They're so hard to place, and they don't really stay in position, and they're really kind of small and awkward. I'm not sure if the stickers have aged over time or what, but it just hasn't worked out in both of them so far. We do have a moving segment for the V-fin camera. Next up then, we do have those little cheek protectors, the green one that goes on either side, followed by a flap on top, and this in the end what we get. And again, the eyes are kind of weird, a little bit close together, and they don't stick on all that well. Also, the sticker for the camera up there could be a whole lot nicer. I definitely recommend painting that, if anything, on the kit. The shields are quite simplistic, but quite effective as well. You just build them up just like so, popping the layers on like this. There's just one piece of armor per part. They're then locked in position with these little grey segments, which just attach on, nice and secure. After nearly finishing, I realized it's super simple to actually do it this way as opposed to the way I was doing it. So attach it onto the smaller bit of the shield towards the bottom, and then on just like that. The smaller shields then are even simpler. They're just one piece each, and we've got a little grey segment which attaches onto the rear of them just like so to attach them on. Super simple. So the last thing we have to make in here then is the rifle. Now I'm a little bit disappointed that we do not get any pistols in here. That's a bit of a shocker, alright. As for this is quite simple, just a few pieces that go together, a handle, two sides, a barrel end, and then the bipod for up front. And what we get in the end is quite simple, but it does look incredibly nice, as Dynames' rifle should. So jumping into the aesthetics of the high-grade Dynames right here, and this does look pretty cool. I'm actually shocked by how good it actually does look. Of course, it won't go toe-to-toe with a modern high-grade, but for a 16-year-old kid, this isn't that bad. The silhouette is exactly how it needs to look. This is Dynames without a doubt. The color separation on the whole is extremely good, besides those couple of things I mentioned in the build. We are missing some grey parts on different venting aspects, maybe some of the armor underneath could be grey as well, but the vast majority of the colors are here. Now, I will mention this isn't what it looks like straight out of box. I've done two things with this, and, well, just two simple things. First off, I did use some panel liners on this to panel line it in grey to bring out some of that detail, which really does need to be brought out. A lot of the aspects, like on the side of the legs, we've got a whole bunch of them on the shields we'll be taking a look at later on. These are meant to actually be in grey, which they are not. At least panel line that makes them pop a little bit more, but the detail just really isn't there. In regard to the grey colour, that is. Next up, the only difference I did when it comes to colours is I did put the red on the V-fin up there. I just touched those with a Gundam marker, that is it. Super simple, one touch, that is all, just to make it look the way that it should. Now for me, the biggest letdown about this kit, like we saw in the build, is the torso right here. All of that grey segment, the grey segment underneath on the white there, that is all stickers, which is a huge letdown. The grey on the knees here as well. If you're good at attaching stickers, these might look okay, but these don't age well over time. They're easy to end up knocking off. I meant to top coat this to actually kind of help make them blend in a little bit more, adhere them a little bit better, but I just didn't have the time to get that done. And like I mentioned, these parts here, these should be in grey as well. just like you're seeing right here in the manual. So there are some aspects about this kit that could look a little bit better, but these are all just color-wise. You can paint them in easily yourself, but if you're going out of box build it's not going to look the greatest. Stand up there. Or don't, you know, you could not as well. When it comes to the aesthetics, what we get with the high-grade Gundam Dynames right here is the set of GN shields. That's the full GN shields, the smaller GN shields, the iconic GN sniper rifle, an alternate bipod for using with that, and finally then we do have one alternate widespread hand. So when it comes to the hands in here, we've got the exact same ones we would have seen with the high-grade Exia right there. So that is these holding hands right here, which means that anything that can be held would be swappable between the two. When it does come to the alternate hands in here, swapping them out is just a ball joint attachment, pops off just like that right there, and we've got one alternate hand which is a left hand widespread one, exactly once again the same as what we saw with Exia. Now one thing I almost completely forgot to mention when I was listing out what comes with this kit is this right here and this right here, which is a pair of beam sabers. Now the reason I forgot that is because these are pretty much just for popping in there, and that is all, because for whatever reason back in 2007, Bandai just didn't make these usable. For, well, example, first off, there is no beam saber whatsoever. The other thing is, these barely even hold in, these are just for attaching round back. And speaking of things that we don't have in here, if we harken on back to the Master Grade Dynames, that, there I am with the Dynames thing. Dynames, Dynames. It looks like it says Dynames, but it's called Dynames. Dynames. If we harken back to the Master Grade Dynames, that comes with pistols, which are really, really, really cool, as well as the attachment points for mounting them on the legs. Now the high grade version does not come with those. When it comes to weapons in here, all we get is the GN sniper rifle. And speaking of which, it's about time to move on to Dynames' most iconic weapon, which of course is the GN Sniper Rifle. Now this is the version we get inside of this box right here. It's pretty plain, but it gets all of the detail right. With a little bit of detailing up, some panel lining, this could look absolutely phenomenal. We do have just a sticker for the sight segment up front right there. And when it comes to the bipods, these are a little bit on the strange side. The tucked away bipod version, which is this right here, is in the standard color, which is gray, but we do get an actual extended bipod right here, which is just in white. So to actually swap it out, it's as simple as popping it off like so. There's a little bit of a tab there. This attaches in, but this variant is completely the wrong color. That is meant to actually be in gray as well. So this will have to be painted if you want it to look right. Otherwise, it looks like some kind of odd conversion part. Popping this into the hand is super simple, and just like we would have saw with Exia, we've got a 2-point attachment. So the actual handle pops into the hand, and then we've got this attachment point up a little higher, which feeds it with the GM particles, but also locks it into position. Oh wait, that doesn't lock jack shit. Yeah, it appears it just kind of hangs out in the hole a little bit. Oh, that's kind of a waste of potential right there. Anyway, that's what it looks like. So getting the Dynames here into a pose with the sniper rifle is actually quite simple. There's some nice articulation at the shoulder that allows it just to pull it forward in the way that you need it to in order to get those nice shooting poses. So it can pull off some poses, not a whole lot, but it does the ones that it needs to do. So the next of the equipment we have in here are these. These are the GN shields, the smaller versions of the armored shields. Popping these on is simple. We've got a peg into a hole system right here. Pops on just like that. Next up then is the second one, also pops on just like so. Simple but effective because we do have a little bit of up and down articulation here, a little bit of forward and back swivel, so these will get you what you want, and they look pretty cool while at it. Once again, like I mentioned earlier on, there are some elements that should be in color on these, but they are just very basic, but still, they do what they need to do. So in order to get that full GN shield going, we do have 2 of these larger GN shields. These do have a little bit of articulation, so 2 points, one here and one down here. The attachment point is a simple peg. Now this is a deeper peg than we would have seen with the smaller GN shield, so that does mean when this is attached, it holds on a whole lot better. Probably even a whole lot better if it was on the right side, which is this one right here. Just like that. When these larger ones are attached, we can attach the smaller ones too, and in order to do that, you take the peg that we would have had before, just flip it down like that, and now we've got this slide down attachment point, which is far more secure than what we would have seen with the peg. So that just attaches down in there just like so, and this is much more secure. So with both of those attached on, Dynames looks absolutely ridiculous. They give it an almost winged kind of feel, and we do have a nice gimmick here too, which is attach these grey segments up top. So what we've got is a locking mechanism. Basically, these shields won't go side to side or anything like that. When they're locked, they just stay attached to the shoulders, but by pulling these out like so, they click nicely. This holds very, very tight, I might add. That ABS is holding on strong. Once they're unclicked, you're able to move them either back or forward, and if you move them forward, you get that big old Dynames shield look. This is pretty cool. So besides the shield gimmicks, which makes these extremely, extremely expressive, we also have the one in the V-fin, you know, that absolutely awesome one, which allows the camera to come out of the head like so. Now, it's not too awesome in this particular high grade. As you can see, the camera is always pretty much visible. Even if you push it all the way up like that, you can kind of see it inside of it. But basically, to make it completely seeable, you're able to actually drop this down. You kind of lift it up a little bit and then drop it down, and then you get the camera inside of it. Like I mentioned in the build, this is very, very simplistic. Behind that, we do have some sculpted detail, but that does get covered up by this sticker right here. Again, I totally recommend painting this entire V-fin to get the full effect. However, it is cool that it does actually have a bit of a moving gimmick that allows it to come out and back in again, like so. But Dynames right here is a mobile suit that has a whole lot more going for it than that. We're meant to have some little GN grenades down here in the bottom of these particular little flaps, but we don't get anything like that. These are just very simplistic. And of course, there are GN missiles as well in the knees, but this doesn't open up. It doesn't do anything exciting at all. So if you do want the full effect, of course, the master grade is the place to be. So finally moving on to the articulation, and as you'd expect, it is a little bit dated feeling because of this style of design. It's 16 years old, so that does mean it is quite old. We've got no upper leg rotation, which is a little bit of a disappointment, and the shoulders can't really move back beyond this point here, which means getting dynamic poses, standing poses out of it is quite tough. However, conversely, these can move quite a bit to the front, which does mean you can get some nice rifle poses with it. But anyway, let's test it out. So yeah, that right there is it for the articulation. There really isn't much to it at all. It is very, very, very dated. We've got ball joint hips, which means not much in the lines of kicking the legs out to the sides. We've got no articulation in the feet, which means it can't get too low down into a lunge. We also have zero ab crunch whatsoever, so the whole torso is paralyzed. This is more of a stand there and maybe pull off a couple of poses kind of kit, as opposed to one you're going to get the best, most awesome dynamic poses out of. For me, it's just going to be standing there on the shelf. And that, it does pretty well. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and this to me is a little bit better than the Exia, so I'm going to give it silver tier. It's definitely a dated high grade through and through, but for considering how old it is, it's not that bad. Aesthetically, all the essentials are here. You will have to do some extra painting yourself to get it to full Dynames, absolutely awesome looking level, but the foundation is there. Same goes for the accessories. You get pretty much everything you need for the basic Dynames loadout, and they all do what they need to do. Articulation wise is super, super, super basic and probably its worst aspect, but if you just want something for standing there in your 1/44th scale collection, this will do the job quite nicely. Anyway, I got mine through BUYEE, link will be down there in the description. Let me know which one you want to see next from the original 00 lineup. And as always, I will see you next time. Once again, this video right here, and none of these videos would be possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and here on the channel memberships, including 10 Soldier YT, Caleb Engelhart, Dashil Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Lauren Seahack, Org59061, and Van Fawn.